Has Dave Chapelle been cancelled? David Curry Weber Chapelle is a stand-up comedian and actor from the United States. He is best known for his satirical comedy sketch series Chappelle's Show, in which he starred until the third season when he left in the middle of production. After a brief hiatus, Chapelle resumed performing stand-up comedy across the United States. By 2006, Chapelle had been dubbed the comic genius of America by Esquire and the best by a Billboard writer in 2013. In addition, Rolling Stone named him number 9 on their list of the 50 best stand-up comics of all time in 2017. But recently, something happened with the actor, a comedian, as his concert was cancelled. So let's dive into the video to know the scenario, and if you enjoy such celeb news, subscribe to our channel. Here we begin. Due to backlash over some of his jokes, comedian Dave Chappelle's live show was cancelled at the last minute. The Minnesota Revenue First Avenue apologized for booking him and said the show would be moved to another theater. Chapelle has received widespread praise and harsh criticism for his recent stand-up routines, including jokes about transgender people. First Avenue stated that it must adhere to the highest standards. Chapelle has yet to respond. Chappelle's live shows, TV specials, and the platforms that host him are frequently criticized for comments he made in previous routines that some viewers find offensive. First Avenue said in an Instagram statement, "We hear you artists and members of our community, and we apologize. We must hold ourselves to the highest standards and regret that we have let you down. We are not just a black box with people inside. We understand that First Avenue is more than just a room. Venue welcomes feedback. The First Avenue team and you have worked tirelessly to make our venues the safest in the country, and we will continue to do so. We believe in diverse voices and artistic freedom, but in doing so we lost sight of the impact this would have. We know there will be some who will disagree with these decisions. You are welcome to send feedback," the statement continued. The sold-out show had instead been relocated to the Varsity Theater, a 40-minute walk from the First Avenue. A representative for Chapelle has been contacted by BBC News and asked if the comedian would like to comment on the show's cancellation. Chapelle is one of the most successful comedians in the United States, but he has received criticism for some quarters of the jokes he has delivered in his stand-up shows. Chapelle told the audience in a recent Netflix special, The Closer, gender is an unavoidable fact. Every human in this room, every human on Earth, had to pass through a woman's legs to exist. This is a proven fact. In another Netflix special, Sticks and Stones, he described trans people as confusing. Nevertheless, Netflix has stood by Chapelle, telling employees who have complained or protested about his content being hosted on the service that they should consider leaving if they do not support artistic freedom. Not everyone will like or agree with everything on our service, the company stated in an internal memo. If you find it difficult to support our breadth of content, Netflix may not be the best place for you. In addition, a man was charged with felony assault with a deadly weapon earlier this year after Chapelle was attacked on stage during a show in Los Angeles. Chapelle was not hurt. The show brings tensions to Varsity Theater. Dinkytown's Varsity Theater picked up Chapelle's show, adding 2 extra dates to his stop in Minneapolis for 6 performances. The cancellation news sparked debate in local, national, and international media, bringing the world's heated debate about transgender inclusions to Dinkytown. Protesters for transgender rights gathered outside Varsity for 3 days as fans waited for each show. Unfortunately, Varsity Theater had yet to respond to the Minnesota Daily's request for comment before publication. "I'll say the same thing about Varsity Theater as I did about First Ave. We are disappointed that they are hosting Dave Chapelle," said Kat Ron, executive director of the LGBTQ+ rights advocacy organizations Outfront Minnesota. "We believe giving a platform to potentially transphobic rhetoric that has appeared in several Dave Chappelle specials will harm our community." Fans in line for Chapelle did not share this concern, instead stating that Chappelle's boundary-pushing comedy targets all groups equally. However, protesters in front of Varsity Theater claimed that transgender people are especially vulnerable to hate speech and hate crimes. According to the Trevor Project's 2022 national survey, more than a third of transgender or non-binary youth reported incidents of physical harm or threat based on their gender identity this year. In addition, according to a 2019 CDC study, LGBTQ+ youth are significantly more likely to consider or commit suicide than their straight and cisgender peers. In the early 2000s, Chapelle made a name for himself as a comedian, inciting controversy and pushing the boundaries of America's conversations about race, politics, and identity. In recent years, Chapelle's comments, like those of Ricky Gervais and many other comedians of his generations, have drawn more vehement criticism from social activists. Protesters said Chapelle's comments felt especially dangerous at a time when reported anti-trans violence have reached a record high, and legislators across the country have begun to advocate for the rollback of LGBTQ+ rights. Despite sharp disagreements over the content of Chapelle's performance, protesters and fans questioned First Avenue's decisions to relocate the show. Unfortunately, the sentiment expressed on both sides may stain the reputations of Minneapolis' most famous venue. So, what do you think of the show being cancelled? Let us know in the comments below.